going to hit up something else. Okay, so check this out. The next thing that we're going to work on is I want to share with you is the AITP travels assignment. It's probably one of the most difficult Excel files that you guys will complete. So I'm going to play with this for just a minute. Okay. When you guys get into this particular assignment and AITP, it's a conference, okay. All right, and then here it's going to ask how they're traveling to their conference. And car, train, car, and train. Okay, so once you have this information in there, you guys are going to then start to create some functions. Let's see here. I need a legend down here. And so A13, I'm going to type car, train. If you misspell any of this stuff, it won't work for you. So make sure you're spelling it properly. If they ride in a car, it costs them $90. A train's going to cost them $150. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create an if statement. And why would you do this? I mean, you could certainly handwrite all this stuff out, but the beauty of Excel is that when one thing changes, everything changes, and it changes for you automatically. And also think, if you're in big business and you had 500 rows or 5,000 rows of data and you had to change each one of them, you'd make mistakes. So that's what this is all about. Like I said before, we're only using a small portion of this Excel spreadsheet. So you know, you're looking at this like, so what? I could type it, I could click in that cell and change it, whatever, you know. But if it were like 500 rows, do you know how long it would take you? Long time. So, all right, that's why you use these functions. So over here, this is going to be my cost right here, my cost. And if you actually look in your instructions, it has everything in there that you need. So even if I didn't do this, if you followed the instructions and looked at the picture, you'd have it. Okay, so here I want to do a cost. But in the instructions, it tells me specifically to create an if statement. And that if statement is just exactly what it's called, an if statement. It's like, if you eat your dinner, then you can have dessert. Yes, okay. So if you go by car, it costs you if you go by car, it costs you $90. If not, it costs you $150. That's all we're saying here. But we're going to put an if statement in there so that it will calculate that out for us. So I'm going to click where I want my answer. I want my answer in cell C6. Select my function. I'm going to choose the if statement and say OK. Now it gives me a logical test, what I want to say if it's true, what I want to say if it's false. So I've already said here, you know, here we go. I want it in my logical test. My logical test is like the beginning statement. So it's the same thing as me saying to you, if you eat your dinner, then you can have dessert. Okay? Although in this case, we're not having dinner or dessert. We're taking a car or we're taking a train. So I kind of have to look at the statement here. So in this particular instance, what I want to say is if the person goes by car, it will cost them $90. If the person goes by train, it will cost them $150. So my logical test is going to be if cell B5 and why cell B5, okay? Because B5 is going to identify the method of travel, okay? So I'm already preparing my if statement. But in this if statement, I can't use words. Right now, what I've said so far is if Sarah drives a car, then that would equal cell A13. So it's telling me it's true because car up here equals car down here. Now, If the statement is true, then it will cost her $90. If this statement is false, it would cost $150. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, hey, oops, I've got my stuff off by 1. Sarah car cost. Sarah needs to get moved. Hold on. This should say name, method of travel, and cost. Oh, I put my answer in the wrong thing. That's okay. We'll just move it up. There we go. So if Sarah's driving a car, it'll cost $90. We did it, right? Very cool. And look up here at your function. The function is if the nested formula of B5 equals A13, then if it's logical, then it equals B13, and if not, equals B14. If you don't understand this, just copy what's on your sheet. I mean, it's going to guide you through the whole thing. So don't sit there feeling like I'm never going to get this because I'll never understand it. Your assignment guides you through all of the steps, okay? But for those of you that want to learn, I'm going to try to teach you a little bit. So I'm going to click back on this function argument box, and it will release to me and say, this is your logical test, this is your value of true, this is your value of false. Okay, and that is, it's a true statement, so $90 goes there. If I come here and I type train, guess what? It changes it to $150. Okay, so we did a proper if statement. But check this out. Anytime you create a formula, you're going to fill it. So I'm going to fill this formula in. When I fill it in, I get all kinds of whacked out stuff. Why? I don't get it. Why? What happened? All right, well, remember when I told you guys that Excel goes based off of patterns? So here I've moved to cell A14. Here I've moved to cell A15. Here I've moved to cell A16. Those don't even have numbers in it. All right, so what I've got to work on here on this particular, I'm going to delete these. On this particular formula here, pull back up on our function argument box, I've got to do something that's called an absolute. And what that does is it's going to say that I will absolutely always pull from this cell. So here, I'm going to absolutely always pull from cell A13. I need for that to always stay the same. Okay? So if I hit the F4 button once, it absolutes it. Those dollars do not mean money, it means absolute. If I click F4 again, it will absolute my row, but not my column. Anytime the dollar sign is in front of a row or a column, now it's in front of my column, it will never allow it to change once it's filled in. It keeps that spot. So if I try to fill this in now, it won't change from A. It'll always stay A. Okay? I'd like to absolute that. Also, if the value is true, which is this right here, I need to absolute that. So click on there, hit F4. Could you type those dollar signs in? Yeah, but that's like 2 extra clicks. So, all right, I need to absolute this value here as well, and I'm going to say OK. Now it says if Sarah goes by car, it costs $90. Nothing changes here. If she goes by train, it's $150. This is where it changes. When I fill it in, it keeps me in my proper areas, okay? So train is $150, car is $90. Now the cool part about this, when you create a formula this way, is let's say that the car changes and it costs $500 to go buy a car, it's going to change all of those numbers for you. If it costs $900 to go by train, it changes all of those for you. So that's why you want to have everything connected this way, because then if there's a change, everything will change. All right? So you guys will create that. And the other thing that I look for, I'm going to hit undo. I don't want it to be $500 and $900. Okay, so what I want to do now is hit up this conditional formatting, because that's one of the other things that throws students off a little bit. What it will ask you to do, and I do this in my grade book all the time, like if somebody's failing, if they have under a 60, I want it to be red, just so I can see it really quick and easy. So what students will do, though, is they'll do this and they'll say, oh, she wants the font red. Okay, I'm done. But that's not right, okay? Because I ask you to do conditional formatting. So I'm going to select all of these cells right here. I'm going to the Home tab, Styles Grouping, Conditional Formatting button, and I'm going to make myself a new rule. And this new rule is going to say that I want to format only cells that contain, that have a cell value. And in this particular instance, what do we ask you to do? Oh, I don't know. Let's just do this. Let's say that if it's if it's under $100, I want it to be purple. Who knows, okay? So if the value is under $100, I want it to be purple. So if the sale value is less than 100, so I've got my rule, but I don't have my condition. If my sale value is less than 100, what's going to happen? Okay, let's format it. So I will make my font color purple. Okay, here it is. Here's my rule, my formatting rule. If my sale value is less than 100, make it the font purple. But what if I wanted to do fill? Okay, go to the fill tab. Make it yellow. Now here's my rule. If the sale value is less than 100, make it purple font with yellow background. Okay, look, it did. But now guess what? Let's say train prices go down and it only costs $50 to go by train. It adjusts all of it. If the car price increases and the cost of going by a car is now $900, then that will go away. How do I know if you put conditional formatting on here? If you come up here to the conditional formatting button, at the very bottom, you go to Manage Rules. So I'm going to go to Conditional Formatting, Manage Rules, and right here is my rule. If my sale value is less than 100, make it purple font with yellow background. Okay. All right, so that's your conditional formatting. So that's the biggest things that students have trouble with whenever they go in and work in Excel. The last assignment that you guys do is basically just a calendar template, which is really, really easy. So I don't think you're having trouble with that. But these are the biggest things that I wanted to hit with you guys today. So let me also mention that when you guys go to complete your final exam in Excel, keep it easy. All right, so I mean, why are you going to make things so hard? What I'm going to do is, so I have an invention that I already created in my Word, right? So I created an invention which is a pill that makes me smart. So, okay, and I'm going to create an Excel spreadsheet based off of my invention. So I'll probably choose something really simple. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Something really simple like 2018 quarterly sales. Okay, and then let's see here. We're just going to do first quarter. That's only 3 months. So that's, let's just say it's January, February, and March. Oh, let me move these over. Okay, January, February, March, and I'll give like 3 locations: Fayetteville, Raleigh, and I don't know, Durham. Okay. All right. So when you go to do your final, what you'll do is, make up some data. I sold 500. I sold 35. I didn't sell any. However many items you sold of your item, okay? And then once you get your data in there, you've got to do, for your final exam, you have to do 2 formulas or functions, either way. So, all right, so total, because that's really simple, and I can do that. All right, so I'm actually halfway done with my final exam already. Okay, and maybe I also want to do an average. So here, I'll put an average in there, function box, average, okay, of these cells, okay, and fill that across. All right, so I don't have much left to do. The biggest things I have left to do is to select my content, create myself a little chart, put my chart title in there. All right, place that in there. And then the other things I'm going to have to do is put a picture in there. But guess what? I'm going to go to my Word file and put the same picture in. And I don't have any pictures that I could put in here very easily, I don't think. Let's just see what we've got without messing things up. I don't have like a picture of an item. All right, so I put my picture in there of whatever my item is, right? I've got to do some merge and centering. So I'll merge and center some stuff. I've got to change some font things. Okay, so that's done. I need a little bit of fill color. Okay, so you can place some fill color in there, however you want to do it. You know, but make it look pretty. I mean, this looks kind of jacked up right now, to be quite honest with you. So I want to make it look a little prettier. All borders. Let's do this. Fill color here and here. Maybe I want a background color here, right? But don't make it harder than it has to be. Then I also need to have a, I need a shape, but I also needed a shape in my Word. So I could pull the same shape from Word if I wanted to. Or maybe I want to do this and say, wow, look at that. I did really good. Okay. Oh, that's ugly. All right, well, this isn't beautiful, but I almost have my whole final exam completed in like, you know, a minute and 30 seconds. So don't make your final exam harder than it has to be. Keep it really, really simple. Make sure that you've added everything that you're supposed to add. Don't go, I have students that will turn in final exam projects for Excel and they're 12 tabs long. They don't even know what they have in there. So keep it really simple. All right, so check this out. I'm going to stop this recording here in just a minute, and then I'll let all this stuff process. It usually takes about half a day for it to process and release the recording to me. Once it releases that, I'll load it up to YouTube, closed caption it, and bring it back down and send it to you guys. But do you have any questions for me before you try to head off of here today? I talk a lot, so I'm going to be quiet for about 30 seconds so you can ask a question if you need to. No? No questions? Okay, Wes, thank you. Alrighty, well, I'm going to stop this recording.